Hi, welcome to Angling Acumen, and today we're going to do another one of our Forgotten Classic segments. And the bait we're going to be featuring today is the Mann's jelly worm. And this thing's been around a long time. In fact, most bass fishermen today weren't even alive when the jelly worm was introduced back in the 1950s. And it was revolutionary when it came out for two reasons. It was one of the first of the soft, supple type worms. Most of the original plastic worms back in that era weren't very supple. They were quite stiff. And the jelly worm was one of the first ones to go down this road. Another thing they introduced was scent. They were one of the first plastics to incorporate scent right into the bait. And in fact, the scent designation or the color designation for each of the worms also is a reference to the scent. For example, this is the grape jelly worm, and so it has a grape scent to it. And then this is the blackberry jelly worm, so it has a blackberry scent to it, and so on through the whole series. But this is just a classic bait, and I love the latest and greatest lures and techniques like anybody else, but once in a while it's just fun to do an old school Texas rig plastic worm, and the Mann's jelly worm is one of the best tools for the task. Now, the Mann's jelly worm is basically offered in two lengths, 8-inch and 12-inch. Now, I personally live way far north of the Mason-Dixon line, so I don't have a whole lot of use for the 12-inch in this part of the world. But on our southern trophy waters, that could be a great choice. People like Paul Elias have shown that. But even on some of my waters, depending on how the bass are running on certain particular lakes, the 8-inch is even a little more than I want. And that includes the lake I'm going to be on today. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off of that. And then I'm going to deviate from the old school hook. You know, instead of this traditional straight shank offset worm hook, I do like the extra wide gap hooks for most of my worm presentations. I am fond of that. You know, basic Texas rigged worm or stick worms or whatever. So I am a big fan of the extra wide gap hook, and so we're just going to rig that up like I would with any other worm, just cutting it down a little. And I'm going to deviate a little bit on the sinker. Instead of the old school lead worm weight, I'm using actually a little 16th ounce tungsten sinker today. And we're in early fall right now, and most of the waters I fish, or a lot of them, the bass will relate to shallow shoreline structure all summer long. But we just had about a 10-degree drop in water temperature relatively quick. We went from 75 to 65, quite quickly. And it hasn't moved them a lot. It's just pulled them back a little bit away from the shallow shoreline cover. They're holding at about 3 feet, 4 feet in submerged wood and rocks. And I'm just going to use this with this little 16th ounce sinker. We're just going to slowly work it right through that cover, right in the bottom, that rocks and woods, and that 3 to 4 feet of water. Let's get fishing. The jelly worm. Like that. All right. Hey, we got us a big mouth bass. They are liking the jelly worm today. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Candy. bass candy. Come here. God. All right. On the jelly worm. That is just too much for you to resist. All right. Just a great bait. That just keeps on working. All right.